Honestly, this is the last thing that I ever thought would happen in a fight of Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou. I'm never going to predict fights for boxing because so unpredictable. I know the UFC can be, but especially boxing. We have never seen Ngannou hit the floor like that, let alone be knocked out cold, and I never thought I would see the day. But now we're noticing that Joshua, for as scared as he has looked in fights, we're seeing a new variation of him. It's not like the old Joshua where he likes to pressure people and knock them out. It's more of a defensive, but still powerful Joshua. For example, Joshua in this fight, it looked competitive at the start until the knockdown. You're seeing Ngannou actually fight in the southpaw. And if you watch back the fight with Fury, you'll see that he did very well in the southpaw stance against him. And then he did it against Joshua, and he actually started off the fight by moving his head off the centre line, trying to feint, but Joshua isn't scared of Ngannou. So when they end up in situations where they're close in the clinch, Joshua is able to not allow him to drain himself over him like a guy like Fury tried to do to Ngannou. And when Fury tried to do it to Ngannou, look what happened. He was getting ragdolled. So for Fury, this is actually embarrassing. For people saying that Anthony Joshua had no chance against Fury, that's going to change a lot now because they're going to see this. And I know styles make matchups, but Joshua is a good matchup for a guy like Tyson Fury because he hits hard. He's stronger than Fury in the clinch, and that's what Fury likes to do. He likes to grab hold of you, get you against the ropes, and hug you. And another thing, he's not just going to walk him down. Fury's going to have to look to be the aggressor in that fight because Joshua don't do that. He likes to stay behind that jab, wait for an opponent to overcommit, and then fire off that right hand. Not just here. If you look at that Hellenius fight, that's one fight where you could say that reminded me of the old school Joshua. Not from the start, but near the end when he started pressuring him. It was a bad performance in that Hellenius fight, but what I'm saying is we saw a bit of the old Joshua near the end when he was pressuring. But in this fight here, it's a new type of Joshua because you'll notice that Ngannou, after the first round, after getting dropped the first time, he was not moving his head anymore. And you'll notice that when he goes from southpaw to orthodox, you'll notice that fighter's defense become a bit worse. With Ngannou, it definitely got worse because these straight punches are coming through. And if you actually look at the knockdown again, when he goes in with the jab, I believe he tries to use it to set up another combination. But because he doesn't close the distance before throwing the jab, Joshua can get the read on him. That as he comes in to try and load that right hand, if he can fire off that right hand before Ngannou's going to load that right hand, it's going to beat him to the punch. And because of the momentum of Ngannou walking forward into him as well, gets folded. And that's what shocked me the most because I didn't think a guy like Ngannou, if he was going to lose the fight, would have got knocked out cold. He might have got TKO'd, but I thought it could have made a decision because he's shown that he can take elbows off Tyson Fury. He can take, remember that overhand right that Fury landed from the start against Ngannou? That was a heavy strike. And I believe Joshua has done a lot of work on noticing how Ngannou fights regarding his defense. A lot of UFC fighters don't have the greatest defense. And against Fury, yeah, I believe it was a close fight. But his defense weren't amazing even then. But it was his offense and his strength that was causing Fury problems because Fury can't just do his game of hugging him. So he's going to beat him in that department. And he's also got more power than Fury. So when he dropped him, it's inevitable because it's happened in most of his fights. But with Joshua getting this knockout, completely surprised me just because of the fact that he was not a guy to get cleaned out, not just knocked out, wiped out unconscious, rendered unconscious as some people would say. And it's unfortunate because I thought Ngannou was going to go much further in the sport, especially after that fight with Fury, but I don't think he's going to be done. What I think will happen now is he's going to have to look at a fight with Zhilei Zhang. That would be the perfect fight to do because they're both coming off a loss. They're both around the same age. They've both got similar things they can do in terms of they've both got very good power. Ngannou's power, I want to see more of it in boxing, but we can't because he fought Fury, dropped him once. But there wasn't really much that he could do in terms of getting another knockdown in that fight. So he's got power, we know that in the UFC, but I worry about the defense. But then the alternative is that Zhilei Zhang's cardio is dog. Ngannou's is not the best, but he can go 10 rounds. And that's probably the good fight to make. But for Fury, look at how long it takes to get a fight booked with Tyson Fury. Joshua winning this, Now we've got to wait to see what happens with Usyk and Fury. Let's just say that Usyk beats Fury. Are we going to see a third fight with Usyk and Joshua? I mean, you'd probably have to, but a lot of people would want to see Fury, and then Fury's pulling out of fights. 1 minute he's like, oh, I'm going to retire. In a weird way, with all the fights that have happened recently, it's just reshuffled the division completely. Like, Wilder's out of the mix now. Like, maybe even see Wilder and Ngannou. That's another one that you could do. But now after watching Joshua against Ngannou, I'm thinking, although Wilder can look scared, he's scared of Joseph Parker because he was just coming at him with volume. He's quick. He moves his head a lot. Ngannou, in a weird way, I think he'd get knocked out by Wilder now. I never used to think that before, but the straight right hands are reaching Ngannou. And if the straight right by Joshua's landing, Wilder has got a very good right hand. I know he's not really technical, but one thing that he can land perfectly well that's not probably the best word to use, but can use perfect, is that straight right. And I think he would find the chin of Ngannou, and especially after a knockout like that, he's going to be out for a long time, because you've got people saying, oh, that was the biggest knockout I've ever seen. You've heard like Eddie Hearn talking like that. And it was a massive knockout. They had to put him on oxygen after the fight. So, for Joshua, another thing I liked what he was doing in the fight also is controlling the range, because usually you see Joshua throw a lot of jabs now, and he's become a boring fighter. But he's actually growing each fight. Like in that Otto Wallin fight, he didn't actually knock him out. I believe it was a TKO that he got. And in the Hellenius fight, it was a bad start, like I said, but then near the end, we were seeing the old Joshua, straight right or overhand right, puts him out cold. And Joshua's one of those fighters where, as Jeremy Stevens would say, when he knocks people out, they don't move, because they don't. They get flatlined. And that is if he KOs them. And he's done it to Ngannou. And in my opinion, UFC is always going to end up being better than boxing because of stuff like this. Like, you have a good guy like this win, and then you've got Fury ducking the fight. It's just so long. So, yeah, good win by Anthony Joshua. Did what Fury couldn't. I'm just hoping that... I prefer Usyk to Fury, but for the division of boxing, you need Fury to win that fight. If he loses that fight, you're going to create a whole bunch of weird possible matchups that could happen. Unless Fury decides he wants to fight Joshua. Because it's been long. People saying someone's stuck in, I don't know who to believe, but if I had to believe one, I'd probably go with Joshua, because look at all the opponents that Joshua's took on. He never takes down fights. Well, not takes down. He never, pulls out of them. Fury's done it a few times. He's good, and I don't know why he would when he's got the ability he's got. But after watching this fight now, he's going to be more motivated against Usyk to win, because he knows that's the next fight. Massive payday. But yeah, Ngannou, disappointing. That's it. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.